I go with guts, grit, that killer instinct. You can have all the training in the world, but when you're faced with the real thing, what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to fight, flight, or freeze. It's 3 a.m. and you forgot how you got dressed. What are you going to do? Like, are you going to get after it, or you're going to feel sorry for yourself because it's 3 a.m. and it's cold? And I mean, I think that's the one thing that I think for sure.
Firehouse Vigilance presents The Weekly Scrap, a podcast dedicated to the never-ending fight against complacency.
Firehouse Vigilance, it is The Weekly Scrap. We are getting it running right here, number 171. I have always said that the American Fire Service stands on the shoulders of giants, and there is no doubt that is a true statement. And yesterday we lost a giant in the fire service. The impact that Chief Bobby Halton brought to the fire service, it might be unmatched in history. I don't know. I mean, it's a powerful, powerful thing that has happened. And before we go into the regularly scheduled scrap, I'm going to take a few minutes at the beginning here to honor Chief Halton. And so as people log in, I'm going to give them a minute to log in before I launch this. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't do this kind of stuff often, so this is outside my wheelhouse. If people that know me know that technology is not my strength, and so we will see how this plays out. So, all right, people logging in, checking to make sure it's working, going to the dashboard. It is working. Okay, here we go.
And for some, maybe life is a war of all against all, but not for us, not for firefighters. For firefighters, it's about saving all. For firefighters, it's about basic virtues, basic principles, honor, and a code. For at the very root of the firefighter, we find persons who desire to act virtuously. Not only do we firefighters find it to be worthy in its own merit, we find being virtuous to be necessary. We find being virtuous to be right. The most powerful disposition is for self-preservation. And so our most heartfelt and elaborate tributes go out to those who have sacrificed their lives so that others might live. These tributes are rare because such heroism is rare. Honor above all. To some, simply words. To us, a code. It is this code that makes us the symbol of man's humanity to man. It is this code that binds us as a fraternity of the world's bravest men and women. It is with this simple code, honor before all, that we take back our fire service and that we raise that standard to which the wise and the honest can repair. It is with this simple code, honor before all, that we declare we are the American Fire Service, and America's firefighters leave no one behind.
Imagine if every day we could hear their stories, and our children could hear their stories, and our grandchildren could hear their stories. You decide. These men we honor here this morning represent the best that society has to offer. They represent the angels of our better nature. They represent the greatest hope for our nation. They represent the best in mankind. And if you'd allow me for a moment to speak on behalf of all of us. This morning we promise that here today that we will never forget. We pledge that their sacrifices were not in vain, that their memories will live on in us, and that the example of honor that they set will be the standard by which we are to be judged. May God forever bless them, and may He continue to bless you in the days ahead. Thank you.
Firehouse Vigilance. Weekly Scrap. Number 171. Man, I don't know what to say other than I wanted to play that at the beginning to kick this thing off. And so thank you, Manny, for letting me do that. Tonight's guest is Manny Barajas. They call him Manny the Barbarian. He is a dedicated nozzleman with San Antonio Fire, where he has worked for the past 6 years, currently assigned to Engine Company number 8 in the city's inner west side. He is a true Chicano fireman that fights fires in the same area he grew up in and still calls home today. He is a combat veteran. He served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps with 2 tours to Iraq. He is a field training officer for his department, the founding father of the San Antonio Fire Attack Page. Manny is a student of the craft, a dedicated blue-collar fireman that believes in grit and tenacity, from hose work to fire dynamics to even the cornfield harvester theory, which I'm sure we will talk about. Manny the Barbarian, he is your guy. A lot to talk about. I'm looking forward to this scrap. This conversation is going to be fun. Brother, welcome to Weekly Scrap number 171.
Thank you for having me. I'm stoked. I'm ready.
I'm excited, my man. Is there anything I missed? Anything you would like to add in the intro?
No, I'm humbled. I'm humbled. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. I'm going to catch you up on every. There's a lot of honor to Chief Halton, of course, that as should be. America's Fire Chief, 100%. No doubt about it. Missed by many. Rest easy, Chief. A lot of tributes going out. A lot of tributes going out. Okay. Let me get my everything out of the way. Anytime I mess with my system, I always risk screwing things up because, I wanted to do that video, but that's not in my wheelhouse. So there we go. Everybody out there, this scrap should get interesting. Join the Vigilantes if you haven't already. We have awesome discussions every month, and if you want to have an impact on the scrap, that is the place to do it. This episode is brought to you by Key Hose. Check them out on Facebook, The Hose Experts. Flame Decon, scientifically developed for firefighter decon. Flame's proprietary blend of activated charcoal removes all sizes of toxins to get you truly clean. Affordable Drill Towers, home of the Affordable Drill Tower and the Affordable Standpipe Prop, firefighter owned and operated. Pump and roll using the Affordable Standpipe Prop. The Affordable Standpipe Prop fits through most classroom doorways for standpipe theory, then roll into the parking lot and pump. Comes with 6 standpipe valves that can be upgraded to PRVs or customized. Call Steve, 844-55-TOWER, or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. So there we go. Housekeeping out of the way. Now we get to go to the good stuff. The Ocho. Let's go, Manny. That comes from Tom Hollick. Robert Garcia said the Ocho. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're excited about this. Trying to see. Let me know if the video is dragging. Kyle Romagus is letting me know the video is dragging. Let me know how bad it is, everybody. I'm checking my internet. I've done everything I can do to make the internet as fast as possible where I'm at.
Yeah, to get us to this point, I think you worked miracles already. Yeah.
Hey. Just checking. I'm running a speed test right now as we speak to make sure. No, everything looks good. Everything looks good right now. So hopefully it's working good. Hopefully there's no issues. Let me know if there is, and I'll see if I can do anything to fix it from the guests or from the audience. Close that. Get that up there. Okay, we got it going. 10 degrees hotter. Someone said 10 degrees hotter. All right, Manny. Are you ready to do this? I want to talk about the first line.
Yes, sir.
The first line. The Fireground action of the first line. That's what I always send out, topics that people want to talk about, and I love picking people's brains on what they're passionate about. And you are passionate about line work, nozzle work, everything. So hit me with the first line. What do you mean when you say that?
I think it's the most critical junction at a fire. You take the words out of Andy Frederick's mouth. Quickly deploying and advancing the initial attack hand line is the single most effective life-saving action that a fire department can perform. I read that, it blew my mind. I was like, man, I thought it's all important. All of it's all important all the time, but that's not the case. I think if it's all important, none of it's important. And we got to put our stake in the ground and anchor to something and be really good at that's going to have the biggest impact on the fire ground, the biggest bang for our buck, so to speak. Then it's that first line. It's getting that right. So much so that I'm proud of my department for creating minimum company standards, and we focus on that, and we've been hitting it hard. And the change I've seen in companies coming through has been astounding. Been pretty, really, really good, really impressive. So the first line obviously is deploying, charging, pumping correctly, and we see all the stuff that happens outside the fire compartment, outside the house, but which is important. That's what everybody sees, but what nobody sees is what happens when you go past that threshold. And that's really where the difference is made. After deploying that line, you still got a lot of work to do when you get inside, and that abyss, that darkness that you go into. That's what I wanted to nail down. That's what I wanted to learn everything about, and make it practical. And that's been my focus since I've been in the fire service, and wanting to get it right. Everything from, water mapping, what happens to our stream when we open it up and hits the ceiling or any solid object, air entrainment, gas contraction, all of it. All of it plays into putting out the fire. And just as of lately, more so than anything, I wanted to concentrate on the effects it has on rescue. And,
right.
We associate rescue with too many times, I believe, with search and rescue, but search does not equal rescue. I think rescue equals rescue, and we're all there for the rescue. And that's kind of been my angle lately, and wanting to push how the importance of that first line, and making sure that we understand that we can accomplish a rescue by knocking that fire in the teeth. And that's what we try to do, and we do that fairly well because we go to them often. They're at Station 8, and we get a lot of practice. And that's been my focus with the first line, is just nailing it down, everything. What do the kinks do to our flow on different types of nozzles, different type of hose packages, over pumping that we do here in San Antonio, which is interesting that a lot of people don't do. And we can dive into that, but that'll get you into the weeds in itself.
Right.
So I got to learn all that stuff because as privates, as firefighters in my department, we step up a lot, and I'll drive, and you got to know when you're driving, you got to know everything about that engine and about that motor. We call them motors in San Antonio. So it's a wide array of things that we got to be experts at, really, really good at. So everything from the pump to the nozzle tip, being proficient at. And that first line, like I said, the nozzle being, the tip of the spear, that's where I'm at. That's kind of where I've put a lot of my focus, because it is the most important position on the Fireground, in my opinion.
I love it, man. And you said rescue equals rescue. Yeah. And I want to tell the audience, because discombobulated at the beginning here, as I make sure everything's working and getting the sound working and playing the video. But Kyle Romigas, the man, the Smoothbore Cartel, the mustache himself from Texas, is curating your questions. So throw them into the mix and throw them at us. He will pull them out and get them in here so that Manny and me can dissect them, and I can throw them at Manny, et cetera, et cetera. But so please take advantage of Kyle. Where am I at? Yes. Can you? We'll get to Cornfield Harvester. We will get to Cornfield Harvester, no doubt about it, because that's going to be one of them. But Smoothbore Cartel said rescue is the objective, not a task. So you want to dive in? You want to which part you want to dive in on that?
All of it.
Yeah.
We're all there for the rescue. Everybody there is for the rescue, not just a truck crew or a search crew. We're all there for the rescue. Meaning I'm there trying to, create and maintain survivable space and knock the fire in the teeth. The quicker I can do that, the quicker it's better for everybody. The search gets done faster. We make breathable space for victims. And, I've kind of gotten in trouble in the past over saying, if you can only do one thing, you should stretch that line and put water on the fire. But the truth is you shouldn't only do one thing, but that's going to give us the biggest bang for the buck. You look at the latest search study, and you look at the times of the experiment of how fast we were able to get knocks on fire and make it tenable. We're talking a minute and change every experiment for the most part. And if that's not telling enough, I don't know what is.
No. And when you say you can only do one thing, it's not like it's like playing the game Would You Rather. It's not like you're always in that scenario, because in a perfect scenario, you can start accomplishing many things.
Yes.
But
you're doing both. You're doing both by applying water, creating, getting that lift of hot gases, and blowing it out the back if there's a vented backside vent, or whatnot, something like that. In the search study as well, guys are doing VES, window initiated searches, and with unisolated spaces. And we were watching, you're looking at the study on the times, and really all that was a backside vent. And that's not to harp on search not being accomplished. That's a critical task. It's a critical task. And I think that has gotten me in trouble. And I think I want to stay away from, if you can only do one thing. I think it should be that it should be done first. Attack should be done first.
Just a mindset towards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No, that's hard to argue with, and I know 1,000%, and because it's easy to try to pigeonhole somebody and plug them into a box and say this is what they're all about. And it's easy to bastardize the message, so to speak.
Yeah.
No, I like it. All right, there's a lot of questions coming. All right, coming from Daniel Drury. Manny, your son just answered the nation's highest calling. What an honor. How has this affected you?
Man, thanks for asking, Dan. He's a Marine himself, and it's been hard. It has. I don't know if most people probably aren't familiar with Marine Corps boot camp. You have no outside access besides, snail mail, and we barely started getting snail mail. He's been in boot camp a little over 3 weeks now, going on 3 weeks, and you could tell it's a big adjustment that needs to happen. They knock you down to nothing, and they bring you back up again. Right now, he's getting knocked down to nothing. He's at that point, and it's every single day, all day. And it's when they wake you up out of your bunk, it's like waking up to a structure fire every single day in the morning, and your heart starts racing, and it's by the numbers. And that's, me knowing that he's going through that. It took me to do something to get my mind off of. I started doing the 100 burpee challenge and doing that every day. And I think I'm going to do it until he comes back, just as a sign of solidarity with him, because I know he's going through it right now.
Now, you went through it because you are a Marine. And so how much does that play in? Because I know my son, my son not the armed forces and not even comparable, but he went to Oklahoma City Fire Academy, and my heart went out to him as he struggled through things that at least he could talk to me about at the end of the day. So how tough is that?
It's tough.
You're doing burpees. Obviously, it's tough.
100 of them every day, without fail. And,
right.
Like I said, it's a sign of solidarity with him. But me having gone through it, I know exactly what he's going through.
So, are you a fan?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He when he first told me he wanted to do it, I was in full support, because I've told other young men, I'd tell anybody to do it, to join the Marines, because it's good for your soul, it's good for your psyche, it's good for your future. And he did it, and I guess he heard me tell enough good stories about it, and straight from the bad. But he's gonna go through it. He's gonna be an infantry Marine. I told him, if you're gonna do it, get the real experience, be an infantry Marine. I was fortunate enough to be with those guys, and there's no other better group, I feel, more competent. I feel that being a Marine and capable with those guys, he's actually going to be safer, I think, than would he gone to another branch. If that makes any sense.
There's an analogy toward the fire service right there.
Yeah.
Plugged in guys are safer than guys that take it for just approach it in a lackadaisical kind of manner. No doubt about it. Back to fire service. John Velez Jr. says, is there any scenario you, and he puts in parentheses, with your resources, would bypass fire attack to attempt rescue?
Visible victim.
Visible?
That's it. Visible victim. And even then, I think, there's a whole deal about splitting crews. I don't really like that, because I feel like the resources are needed to advance to the seat of the fire. But visible victim would probably, that'd be it. You can't sleep at night knowing you passed up a victim. If you see a visible victim,
Sure.
you throw that ladder, you grab it, you make the
Now,
grab.
is there a hierarchy to it? Like visible obviously is like, hell yeah, that's you know what I'm saying? That's easy. Is there a hierarchy to it where it's like, man, highly likely? Are you gonna? I don't know. You know, I'm not trying to pigeonhole you, but you know what I'm saying.
I try to make it as simple as possible. I think simplicity reigns supreme,
Right.
because simplicity equals effectiveness. And I try not to make any gray areas. I think
Okay.
gray areas are dangerous. And visible victim, that's it.
Okay.
Mom like, if it's my house and I roll up to my house, which is very likely, I'm a mile and 1.4 miles where I work from my house, which I could be first due pretty easily if engine company 16's out of house at a medical call. If I pull up to my house and my wife tells me Mijo's in that room, thank you, babe, but I'm stretching the line anyway. I don't see him. People are creatures of habit. We move. We don't stay in one spot. I'm gonna make my whole house tenable. And looking at just recently, like I said, that search study, you can make the entire structure normal conditions with that stream in, a minute and change. It's hard to argue. And that's what I'm going to do. We'll be heavy-handed and not let off the gas with the water placement. And that's why I say visible victim. And even then, I've heard guys like very prominent people in the fire service say, even then, is if you got multiple victims in that house, is a fall gonna kill that person if they jump?
Right.
Those are the things we need to start asking ourselves. We need to have those serious conversations with each other, because if we don't, we're doing our constituents a disservice.
I like your answer, because and this is as I get older, and you got a son in the Marine Corps, so you understand this. If you were at my son's fire academy teaching him this, and he was young, and he knew nothing, and he had no experience, I would be happy with that binary of visible victim, go save him. If not, get water on the fire. And this is your decision-making tree. And so I am pretty happy with that. I really have to say that.
And there's some people that aren't happy with that binary mindset, but our whole world is binary. Everything in this planet is binary.
Well, and especially until you get the experience and the gut feeling and the Rolodex to draw upon, you have to have the binary so you can be decisive and take action. Yes. Because if you're going to be paralyzed by inaction, then you might as well not be showing up with the fire truck.
The worst thing we can do is nothing.
Yes.
Other people have said that, and the most important action on the Fireground is action. If you're doing something that's effective and you decide to deter from that initial handline of fire attack, then the only caveat I would say to that is you better be damn sure you pull that victim out in time, and that's the only victim. And the problem with that is we'll never know.
Right.
The best information at the front lawn is still isn't good enough, I think.
I love it.
People get hysterical. My buddy Mike Martin used to tell me, he's like, when we go to calls, the person tells you the blood glucose, we tell them thank you, but we're going to check it anyway. You can only take hysterical people word for it to a certain point. And that kind of stuck with me. Like, yeah, I know Jay Bonifield touched on it. Trusting people's word for it at the front lawn can get us into a pickle, I think.
I like it.
Did it on this last podcast, which was awesome.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I love it. I'm gonna switch tracks on you a little bit. Jim Platt wants to know, what is your dream attack package, i.e. hose, nozzle, etc.? You have a magic wand, no budget. What's your dream attack package?
You talking like specifics, like key hose and Elkhart, like
where your this is Manny the Barbarian's dream package, no restrictions. You can make up stuff at this point.
I'm gonna go with what my grandpa told me. The best tool is the one that works. And right now we got a tool that works. We run Matex Cobra Combat on Elkhart 7/8 and 150 at 50 constant gallonage or fixed gallonage. That's my dream hose. I was fortunate to be a part of us getting it, and I can only go what we got. I've ran a bunch of different stuff. I've been happy with a lot of the new stuff that's coming out. I'm not I used to be way heavily on certain brands and this and that, but if you're knowledgeable enough, you can find good stuff um, that are kind of offshoots of the major brands. So I don't lean towards heavily on the brands. I just if it works, it works, and best tool is the one that works.
I'm going to circle back around to fire attack versus rescue stuff because that's right in your wheelhouse, and I'm going to come back to it. But I wanted to, and Kyle asked the question, Smoothbore Cartel, but Kyle asked, and I kind of wanted to hit on it too because you mentioned it earlier, over pumping. Manny, my brother, can you talk about the concept of over pumping that is used by San Antonio pump operators?
Sure. Over pumping is setting your pump discharge pressure, your master discharge, at least 30 psi above your initial attack line, and we do that for several reasons. It helps us pump other lines that are going to have lesser pump discharge pressures or less PDPs, and we can pump multiple lines. It sets up the event for oncoming. It sets up the rest of the event. So by over pumping, we can see when we have a kink, pressure is going to rise versus what we have it set at for that initial attack line. Let's talk about just that initial attack line. You'll see a kink. It'll be a rise in pressure. A bursted line, you'll see a drop in pressure. So immediately it helps us diagnose that line if we have any issues on it. There's a great video by my good buddy Leo Cardio San Miguel. He's pump guru here in San Antonio. It's a great 5-minute video, down and dirty, explaining what over pumping is.
Do you know the name of the video, or what was the guy's name?
I'll share the link.
Okay.
I have it linked on my YouTube. People can watch it. Great video. And it you can do it with any engine you have. There's no special equipment that you need. It's just setting your master discharge at 30 psi above your expected pressure for that first line. Helps you set up multiple lines. Like it's goes against what straight pumping is, where you just open the lever all the way to your master and it matches. And the problems with that is, now what if you have to pull a second line that has a higher demand pressure pressure demand? Now you got to raise it, and the guys inside are getting screwed with a raise in pressure, and they're gonna have to keep it open while they're inside. It just creates a mess, and this kind of avoids that. It's an awesome way to go to fires, and we've been doing that. We've implemented it, and everybody's gotten pretty well sped up on it.
So is it it's a standard, just you over pump the entire time, or is it an over pump just for a certain initial period?
The whole time.
Okay.
The whole time, because you can have a company, hey, I'm pulling a second line or secondary line, and now you have to pump that line. And what if that line is longer than the first, which is a good adage, right? Your second line should be longer than the first. Well,
right.
If just at the face of it, that would kind of screw you, because now you need to pressurize that line a little higher, and the guys inside would be getting their butts kicked. And that's the most important line, right? The most for the first line. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So over pumping does that for us.
Sweet. All right. Keep me posted, audience, on the sound of the audio and the video. I think all the kinks have worked out. Just making sure, and let me know. Yeah, I like it. I want to, on this one, it just popped up. So Jesse Bishop wants to know, does overpumping require working individual line gauges at your pump panel?
Yes. You set your master, and then you gate down your individual attack line that you're going to be, and those are predetermined. We usually predetermine them with, in our engine crew, we do it with our flow meter.
I was going to say, with the actual flow meter test and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, we do.
And there might be more story behind Jesse Bishop's question, because they might not have individual working gauges, as I realize the emphasis of the word he was saying, that maybe his doesn't work, and I kind of missed that. Okay. Von Brown, I'm kicking it back to you on. Von Brown wants to know, what's up, Manny? First due engine. He says, first due engine, fire attack versus rescue. What drives your passion to ensure engine companies keep fire attack at the forefront of their mission?
Because fire attack is rescue. I think that's the major adjustment we need right now in the fire services. Fire attack can be rescue, rather than it is rescue. It's just the same as search not equaling rescue, fire attack doesn't equal rescue until you start the end result, right? That's what we're looking for, the end result, not the individual action that's going to, you can do a search all day. If you didn't make a grab, that's not a rescue. Same thing with fire attack. We create that survival space for victims, even potential victims. We're doing monumental benefits right away. And so fire attack can equal rescue. You look at the studies are out there. I always reference studies, and it's not only the studies. I think anecdotal evidence is important too. I've been using these tactics at fires and just looking at the benefits that happens when you leave that line open versus pulsing or shutting it down for long periods of time. So for me and us and our engine crew, the kind of the adage or the gold standard is when you decide to open that nozzle, it's a good idea to not let off the gas until the fire's kicked in the teeth.
Right on, man. Nathan Pips wants. You get lots of questions coming at you. I hope you don't mind. Nathan Pips wants to know, where do you draw the line of utilizing big water, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, as opposed to the standard 1 3/4 hand line as the first line? Looking for personal opinion. He's looking for your personal opinion. Of course, we have adults, but taking into consideration compartmentalization as well. Like, what's kind of your guideline between big line versus 1 3/4?
We pull our big line at fires. We pull it quite often, and that's department wide now. We've been leaning towards. We've simplified our attack packages to 2 1/2 and 1 3/4, which I like. That was based off of Dennis LeGear's recommendation, and I love it. So it makes that binary again, that decision, instead of that gray area. Well, is it big enough to pull a 2-inch, or no? If it's more than 2 or 3 rooms involved, we're pulling that big line. Get that big one punch, one hitter quitter on it, and then finish it off with a 1 3/4. It'll clean up. At least that's our plan. That's what we do. We pull our big line, like I said, at fires. But the big thing is you got to get inside. The 2 1/2 is for a house or bread and butter. Really shouldn't be going inside. It's not mobile enough, but get that good punch on it, reduce down to 1 3/4 and start getting after it.
Love it. Tom Hollick wants to know, and I love Tom. Big old mustache. Tall dude with a nice mustache. Yeah. Okay, he said, Manny, can you talk about flow and move positions? What is your go-to? And also, what should everyone be working towards for proficiency?
I'm gonna go against the grain on this one. I believe the Camella is the superior form, or at least the superior form to use when flowing and moving. Simply because I can teach it. We can teach it to somebody very fast, and they can be effective with it right away. And it's easier to do as opposed to a hip grip, which I learned a hip grip first. And I did strictly for 2 years a hip grip, and I had to spend a lot of time to be proficient at, and center line with the body, active toe, sounding in front, and it takes a long time. It takes a long time to be proficient. Yeah, the water mapping might be a little bit better with it, but you can be just as proficient with work on the Camella, and I think that's the difference, where if one's a little more simplistic, and like I always say, simplistic equals effectiveness, and you can't argue with the one that you can learn in a more conducive time with training is superior in my book. But there's a third one that we don't really mention a whole lot, is the clamp position, and the clamp has saved my butt several times. So I think we need to throw that one in the mix. You don't flow and move with the clamp. I don't even do clamp slides with it, but it'll save your butt. You work on it and get good at it in those times where you need a hold for a second so your heel man can go grab more hose, and you're gassed because you're running the whole time. You're sprinting to the engine, you're getting dressed, your heart rate's above 140, 150. It's 3 a.m. The clamp could save you.
I like it.
But I'd go with the Camella for sure.
Camella is your starting point for teaching new people?
I think it has to be. I think it really has to be proficient at all of them. Is the end result. That takes a long time, but for me, it would be the Camella.
Noah Casillas says, Manny, pumping to a pressure or to a flow meter, What do you think?
Flow. I think flow. And I'm real big. I'm a big proponent of the flow meter it's funny because the flow meter has about this big of a chapter or in a chapter in any pump ops book. But I believe that flow meter is the most important tool on that. One of the most, besides the nozzle, one of the most important tools on that engine. You look at any tip, you look at those tips, says this pressure equals this flow. And if you think about it, those tips are really just algebra. You solve for X, right? You delete one of those, solve for X. So a given flow at a certain tip size is always going to be X. So that's what we do. If that nozzle tip says, and I take my pitot to it and it all matches up, it marries up, and I know my flow meter is good. Now I can go look at my flow meter to give me a pump chart for every line we have on that engine.
Right.
And boom, instead of trusting friction loss coefficients, because I think in the ballpark's not good enough with friction loss calculations, and every line's different. Could be delaminated, damaged hose, old hose. Every manufacturer's different. So that's what we do in training. We know our pressures based off our flow meter. We write them down, and if it's a dynamic stretch where we're doing a really long lay, then we use our flow meter just to get it dialed in perfectly. Because I think even doing the calculations on a long stretch like that isn't the way to go, because every turn is 5 psi or whatnot, and you can never dial that in with just knowing the pressure. You got to know the flow. As long as you know what line is at the end of it, you know which flow you need. So 2.5, 265 plus to 300, inch and 3/4. You're looking for at 150, 160 range, and you're good to go.
I love it. Steve Frankenfeld asks, do you operate with mechanical relief valves or automatic pressure governors? Would either one have a significant impact on your over-pumping strategy?
Oof, that's a good one. We run pressure relief valves, and we can set those. I think we set at 200 psi, if I'm not mistaken. 250, but they're adjustable. They're adjustable on our keystone, and if it doesn't play into our over pumping. We rarely have an issue where we have water shooting out the bottom or anything like that. I've never ran into that issue when we over pump.
Gotcha. You never actually popped the relief valves from the over pumping strategy.
Not from over pumping, no.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. Noah Casillas again follows up with, how does flowing and moving help with ventilation within the structure? If you are flowing, should you open windows?
I think so I've asked Nick Papa this question, and he gave me a really good answer, and I was like, man, I didn't think about that. Originally, I was like, yes, open every window as you're moving along. You're going to help clear that area of smoke. We just got to be careful if it's on our backside, how we're funneling all that air into the fire compartment. So you can almost overpressurize that fire room by doing so. So we just got to be really mindful of we're ventilating on our backside. Just be very careful. A 1-to-1 ratio, I think, is most optimal. So using that door gives us probably that the front door, leaving it open, gives us that better 1-to-1 ratio if we have backside ventilation in the fire room. That's kind of my next mission, is having seeing if we can have a designated outside vent guy to pop the top on that fire room and give us that closer to 1-to-1 ratio. You can never get it exactly on married exactly. It's just too many dynamics. But
try to dial it in.
Yeah. So that would be my answer on it. There's still more research needed on it on my part, but just be careful when you get it on that backside of over-pressurizing that. It's like a nozzle tip, right? It funnels pressure, it increases in velocity as it tapers onto the end. We're doing the same thing if we're opening all this ventilation behind us and it's funneling through a little window. It's going to increase in speed, so just be careful with that.
No doubt about it. We got another one coming from Von Brown. He says, Manny, if you had a few minutes with a rookie before he makes a push, what are some key things you're telling him? Like if you could pause time right before he makes his first push.
It's funny because we get rookies when we get probies. First thing we do, first thing in the morning. Hey, did you eat breakfast? Okay, yes. Boom, let's go. We're outside. We're flowing water, and we're going with the Camella, and the training is kind of set for the day. We'll go with flowing outside for about an hour. Go over all the techniques, standing and flowing. That's something that's not gone over a whole lot. Flowing and moving while standing, and we'll go through all that for about an hour. After lunch, we go over hose deployments, and after dinner, we do fire dynamics. But if I had just 30 seconds or a minute with a probie or a rookie, I'm telling them, when in doubt, open it up. And I'm going to show you how real quick. When in doubt, open it up. And nothing bad is going to happen as long as you're in the right stream pattern. So grip it and rip it is what I tell them, which goes into the face of what we were told coming in is like, if you open up your stream, you know, things are they're going to be bad, and you're going to invert the fire compartment. You're going to disrupt the thermal balance, and which is true, but in a wide fog pattern, and just adjusting that pattern is where the difference is made. And I make sure I harp on stream patterns a whole lot. So just to make sure that that's in the forefront of their mind, that a wide fog is gonna screw you, or it's gonna screw somebody else in that house if you mess around with it.
Right on, man. Right on. Now, you're a big family guy. Obviously, you got your son in the Marines. You're proud of him. Dude, how I first met you, this is a really crazy story. I don't want to tell people this, is you were coming up to the conference I was putting on called Honor the Fallen. Kyle Romagus was part of it. He came up and did Cruel Intent, the first iteration of Cruel Intentions for those who were there. And it was really cool because your son was coming with you.
Yeah.
And he had a tag, and then for whatever reason, he couldn't make it, and your dad came. And that was really kick. That was really kick. I got to meet your father, man. It was awesome. It was an awesome weekend. Unbelievably good time. How's he doing?
He's good. He's you know, health-wise, he's seen probably better years, but he's making a comeback. And good. My dad's strong as an ox, and that's my hero. In case anybody that doesn't know me, my dad's my hero.
Right on.
He's the guy I look to when I need advice, and he wanted to come with me because, for one, he wanted to see what we were doing and why I was going to these conferences and why it was important to me. I think he knew, but he wanted to see it, and two, he wanted to spend some time with me and make sure that I got home safe. After we did that long day of burns, we drove straight home.
Dang. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, on the way home, he tells me, Neil, he goes, that was pretty intense. I go, yeah, Dad. I mean, that's kind of how it should look when we go to fires, And he's like, all right. And he kind of he was impressed, to say the least. He was impressed.
Right.
And one thing I want to tell you is thank you, man. To let me do that was honestly something I'll never forget. And for you to be so welcoming, yourself and your wife and Justin Lorenzen out there, you guys were awesome. You invited him in to eat with us, where we're eating, when we're taking breaks. And I want to say he was there for your keynote, your opening ceremony speech, which, I mean, gave me the chills. And I always tell you, people don't talk like that. Holy. And to sum up a phrase or something like that, and how I feel about the fire service, I would say that's it, man. The way I can't remember her name, looked at Nicolas Cage in the movie, I want people to look at me like that, because that's the way I feel about the fire service.
Hell yeah.
It's not something I was born with. It's not something I wanted to do ever. Thought I would do is be a firefighter. But things, I think, happen for a reason. Kind of here now. But for sure, I just want to say thank you for that, for letting me bring my dad and just being so open with and welcoming.
Dude, vice versa, because 100%, because you brought your dad. It was really cool you were bringing your son, which spoke to my heart anyway, because my son at the same time is kind of coming up in the age. But at the same time, bringing your dad, dude, that's one of the coolest things. So thank you for letting me be a part of it, man.
I brought my son to other training events that we've done, and I've got him to flow and move, and on the Camella and the hip grip, and he was eating it up. He saw me, give my presentation to volunteers on the importance of why we do what we do and the why. That kind of sets the foundation, and that was a memorable event too. I wish I could have brought my son to Honor the Fallen. His priorities were football at the time, and he suffered a major injury.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and it turned out really good because I got to meet Barajas Senior. So
Yeah.
100%, man.
I remember I was chopping it up with you guys, you and Chief Ramagas, Chuck Ramagas at the bar, and I couldn't shut up, and I was talking a lot, and I asked my dad afterwards, like, Dad, I hope I didn't make a fool of myself? And he's like, no, if you did, I couldn't tell. I was like, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Kyle Ramos got a question coming at you. Manny, what is your favorite article from the Engine Man's Bible and why?
That's a good one. I'd have to go with the first one, the very first article by Andy Fredericks, for sure. 50 years later, and it hit me smack in the face, and I was like, man, this is all different than what I was kind of taught, and how the solid stream, the return of the solid, like, geez, that kind of set the tone. I started taking notes left and right, and he reiterated, how the first line prioritize that for life safety, and I was like, geez, and it just opened up a spider web of a whole bunch of other things, and you should see my notes, my notebook on all the notes I have, and for sure, in the book of Andy, I go with the first article.
Right on, man. Right out the gate. I want to pivot on you and go to training. Talk to me about functional training, specifically the Big Five, but talk about functional training and go with it.
Training for function goes again with effectiveness, right? Is it effective? That's kind of why you guys seen me. Maybe I've preached a lot the dirty drop, right? The dirty drop. For me personally, we teach that because I want that rookie or probie's eyes up, looking at the fire as they're approaching, doing their own personal size up, and instead of looking at the folds on the Minuteman or whatever. And the dirty drop I like because it takes the minimum amount of brain power to make that thing stretch the way you want it to. And that's the main reason I like it, because it's eyes up. You're taking in all that information. Where's the fastest moving smoke? What's the, where's the front door at? Does the front door look like it's going to give me problems? And, now they're taking in information versus looking at their hose bundle and how they're going to stretch it. That's why I prefer, that simplistic approach to hose deployment. That's my go-to. It serves a second purpose. It builds trust in whatever hose bundle you're using because it'll work. And, if you want to explore doing the more complex deployment methods, a split D, a forward accordion, whatever, do it. But build, if it's your first deployment or your first go at a fire, we need something that's effective and it's going to work. So when we work on hose deployment, we focus on that dirty drop is what I call it. I turn it into spaghetti for them. I tell them, what would you do now? And it's like, right, look at, where's the couplings? Boom. And try to shoot for 7 steps, no more. If they got less than that, because we have small setbacks in my first due, we whip it as much as we can get out, and we start grabbing bundles of hose and big sweeping motions and flay it out, try to line it up with the door so it feeds in nice and straight if we can do that.
Right on, brother. Right on.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the same thing goes with nozzle work, right? Make it, if you, like Jay Bonifield, I know he's preached on that. If you see this, do that. Use your lizard brain. The same thing with nozzle work for me is making it to where it's automatic. That's why we get in so many reps. That's why you see me post so many videos. It's
real quick. I'm going to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt you, but Kyle's telling me you are still live and the feed is good as well as audio. I don't know what everybody's talking. So everybody refresh if you need to. It appears like maybe there's a hiccup in Facebook. Right now, all my numbers right now say we're good. So it may be just some sort of connection to Facebook, but just refresh if you need to. Some people are freezing, some people are not, but it's not on this end, and Kyle's good. So just updating. Sorry, Manny, I didn't mean to break your flow.
No, we're good. We're good.
That's the joy of live.
Yeah. No, I was just referring to the monkey method. Making it so simple that a monkey should be able to open that nozzle if we give them enough training, and it needs to be automatic. You need to go in that caveman mode and to where and I make it real simple, right? If you can't see, you should be flowing.
Love it.
Period. If you can't see, you should be flowing, and that simplifies everything. Well, what if it's light, hazy smoke? Can you see? Okay, get to the seat. If you can't, start flowing.
Right on, man.
Simple.
No, and it's the beautiful part, man. For the young people coming into the fire service, the simpler you can make it, the better. Like they have the rest of their career to get the nuance, but
Yes.
but give them the binaries out the gate. You know what I'm saying? Give them the yes nos, the flows, and like 100%, and then you can absolutely you can learn nuance from there.
Exactly. Yeah. There should be an introduction, but it's an introduction to the most important part of the basics, right? It has to start with where the rubber meets the road, right? We can do the most beautiful pump pressures. We can pressurize them beautifully. We can do the most beautiful hose deployment, but when we get inside, we're not comfortable with opening the nozzle, then it's all for naught, and the rest of the event's going to go really badly. So that's what we focus on. We front load that. We start that in the morning, and we start with it, and we set the tone. Like, you go to a fire, like, you're not gonna be on the nozzle. You're gonna watch. You're gonna help me advance hose. We're gonna show you how to move hose around corners, how to move with me. If you can't see. So we set the tone early, and because it's a high probability that we'll go to fire in 5 minutes.
Right.
And if that's all we got, well, let's show you something that's gonna be of importance to you.
Love it, man. Love it. And bottom line is this: flow.
Only good things are going to happen.
Yes. Everything.
Only good things.
Yes. I quote: "You can dry shit out, you can't unburn it."
Yeah. Exactly. Family heirlooms mean nothing without somebody to give it to.
That's no doubt about it.
We harp on water damage, and it's either fire damage or water damage. Take your pick. Was my house, wet everything. Sorry, Grandpa, you gave me these things to remember you by, but if it's my family in here, I'm sure he'd want my bloodline to go on. So family heirlooms mean nothing without somebody to give them to, pass them on to.
Yes, I love it, man. Write that down. Smoothbore Cartel said, write that down. All right. Books, man. I love talking about books. I don't know if you're a reader, Manny. We didn't get to talk about it beforehand, but obviously you're a fan of Andy Frederick, so you have at least read one book of Andy at least.
Absolutely.
And so, but not the point. What book or books do you think firefighters should be reading?
For sure, the Engine Company Bible, Andy Fredericks. Besides that one, I'd pass them some articles. I'd go with the quantitative approach to nozzle selection and flow, because it has a lot of good stuff in there on what our stream's going to do at 1112 degrees, and stream choices and stuff like that, because it builds on itself, and talk about response times. It just all makes sense, and for sure I'd give them that one to go over. I'd give them I got a bunch of books. Preventing Firefighter Disorientation by Mora. That's one of our study materials. Really great book. I think that's important. I think gaining knowledge from anywhere is important, as long as you gain understanding. Something I learned from the Stoic creator, and that's important. Wherever you gain knowledge, as long as you understand it, you reference it, it's important, for sure.
I love it, brother. I really do, man. That's really good stuff. Okay. We have a thing. It's been going on since the beginning of the scraps. It's called the 5 Questions for Firefighters. We did a lot of them, and then everybody answered everything you could answer pretty much, and it was pretty much getting repetitive. So we did the next 5 questions for firefighters. We're actually kind of getting there on the next 5 questions for firefighters. I don't know what's next, but my man, are you ready? Because currently, the next 5 questions for firefighters. Now, the answers are completely your opinion. There is no right or wrong, and the points are arbitrary. They're assigned by me with the help of the audience. So Manny Barajas, Manny, the Barbarian, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
The next 5 questions for fire? Okay, here we go. Number 1. What single characteristic makes the difference between a run-of-the-mill firefighter and the top-tier go-to badass firefighter?
First thing comes to mind is I can't say because it's not politically correct, but I go with guts, grit, that killer instinct. You can have all the training in the world, but when you're faced with the real thing, what are you going to do?
Right.
Fight, flight, or freeze. And it's got to be, it's got to be that the killer instinct, those guts, the grit. When it's 3 a.m. and you forgot how you got dressed, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to get after it, or you're going to feel sorry for yourself because it's 3 a.m. and it's cold? And I mean, I think that's the one thing that I think for sure.
No, and I love the fact that you said I got to be politically. I really do, but he's saying balls, man, and 100% is the fact of it's not gender specific. It is really the will to do what needs to be done, man. It has nothing to do with your gender. It just has to do with, do you have what it takes where you need a wheelbarrow to get done what needs to get done, man. And that's a powerful, powerful thing. I love it, dude. I'll give you max points, 100%. Number two, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice as a rookie, what would it be?
I don't want to give the generic deal of not giving the haters any mind, but also giving them a little leeway. I think that's what I would give myself as a rookie, kind of out there flowing in the parking lot all the time. You get a lot of hate for it, but I think I try to do better at bringing those guys in and not just reacting to it. I think that's what I would change, and that's the advice I would give myself if I were a rookie. Like, hey man, instead of going out there and doing your thing and not worrying about them, try to bring them in, because those are the guys that you're going to go into the fires with. And I think that's what I would do. I went to nozzle forward, come back full of piss and vinegar, and you want to show everybody everything, but I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And that's what I would give myself is, man, you got to give them a little bit of leeway, these guys, because you're going to go to fires regardless. You're not a part of the hiring process. You need to try to bring them in at all costs. And that's what I would do.
Fight for them. I like it.
Yep.
What is your favorite training drill?
Pretty straightforward. Flowing water. Yeah. 2.5 don't matter. 1 3/4 don't matter. On a hand line. I think that's where the rubber meets the road. That's what we need for sure. Like, that's my favorite thing to do. It brings me peace. I just like doing it. For sure. It'd be flowing water.
I would be disappointed if you hadn't said anything else. So I'll give you max points on that. What mistake have you learned the most from in your fire service career?
I used to get, frustrated and mad with, we call it agitation, ribbing, jabbing, or whatever you want to call it. Every department probably calls it something else. It's all busted or whatever. It used to upset me. And with that came some really great advice from a person I didn't really care for, but he told me, hey, just give it one shift. Give it one shift, and you still feel the same way. You're mad about it. You can pull somebody aside, talk to them. And that has forever helped me. Give it one shift. And that's what I'd probably tell any rookie. If you're upset about something, give it one shift. See if you still feel the same way.
Dude, that is really, really, really solid. And I wish I could pass that on. In fact, I will. Number 5, and I will say this, it takes humility to learn from that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so humility is huge. And that's why I say, go ahead.
Yeah. Especially the culture I'm brought up in is, Chicano culture, being proud and not taking any crap from anybody. And
you never say you're wrong, right?
Yeah, you throw hands, and which isn't conducive to what we do. You got to learn to reason with people and learn to be a people person. And I think that's important. That's critical. Love it.
Number 4, max points, just because the humility factor involved. Number 5, heavy fire, searchable space. Would you, this is like a really dumb question at this point. Yeah. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
I'm gripping it and ripping it. Let's go. You know, and
If you said anything else, yes.
We're barreling our way to that fire compartment, and we're bull in a china shop. You know, we're getting after it.
All right. I missed something. I may not miss something, but I want to throw this at you because the Vigilantes is a group, and every week I ask them, hey, like I tell them, here's the guest. Is there a specific question you would like to ask this guest? And they get the inside scoop as far as a dedicated question besides just the live one. And they said, this one came from David Pruitt. And he asked the question. It was a great question. It was all about how do you, and I love David Pruitt. He's like one of the best voices in Texas, period. He's just awesome. But Jim Platt, I have to give and I have to put a pinky up when I say this. He basically politicized the question better and said, he reworded it, and it said, how do we overcome kickback from our own agencies when we try to bring a new tactic or training we are using and instructing out there? You know what I'm saying? Like when there's kickback from our own department, but we're teaching it elsewhere. How do you deal with that?
I think you just got to keep working and introduce it slowly. I think the results will speak for themselves when you go to fires and you implement them there. You know, for us, I'm fortunate that what I'm trying to implement, I'm the guy that's empowered by, you know, flowing a lot of water. I'm empowered by that tactic and empowered by seeing the immediate results of all that work we've put in. When it's like like a tactic that's going to take a major push, like I'm not in a position to make those changes, but I am at the nozzle, you know, and that for me has been easier to accomplish. I would say you also got to burden them with facts. You know, it's really, really what you got to do is burden them with facts for proof. And if that doesn't work, you know, it worked for me in the past. You got to give them the information. Sometimes they just don't know, but they don't know what they don't know, and do it in a way that doesn't undermine their authority. And you know, I'm very fortunate. I've had major support from my officer, the shift captain, my chief, shift commander. I mean, it goes all the way up, and I've had support. So I can't really speak to having resistance to a lot of the things we've been trying to implement.
Nice. Love it. And put in the work ultimately is the answer.
Gotta keep doing it and don't stop. Just keep muscling through it and putting in the work.
Now, normally, with the 5 questions done, I wrap it up. But 100%, man, we have not touched on the corn harvester theory, man. We haven't hit it. We have to touch on it, man.
Yeah, let's go.
Is there one go ahead and explain the corn harvester theory?
Yeah, and it to me it stands the test of, I mean, of everything. It goes back to what Andy said. You know, the initial attack line saves the most amount of lives, and so let's say when I would give this at classes, I would ask them to just close their eyes and picture what I'm about to tell them. You know, you're playing in a field, hide and go seek with your kids, and they run off into the distance into a cornfield, and off in the distance, you hear the combine start, the cornfield harvester. No, I'm not a country boy, so I started a cornfield harvester. Off in the distance, you hear it start cultivating the crop. Well, you're immediately introduced with a dangerous situation where you need to go and save your kids. You need to rescue your kids. So I asked, well, what would you do? Would you go and look for your kids, you know, where you last saw them, like a targeted search? Would you start from one end to the other, more of like a, strict search, right hand, left hand, whatever? Or would you go ask the harvester to stop? And by that analogy kind of frames everything I've been trying to push, it being backed with studies and, other information, other facts, other fire doctrine that's out there. That's the way I frame it. And just to focus, the whole issue or the whole idea behind attack in the first line. And I'm fortunate that our fire attack manual reflects that from the city of San Antonio. Says it over and over again. Fire attack is priority for life safety. And I'm really proud of that. I'm glad that it's in there, and we put our money where our mouth is, and we do that. But yeah, that's the cornfield harvester in a nutshell.
I don't know if the combine, the cornfield harvester, whatever the proper, I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but
Yeah, me either.
I can say this with you is I love the mindset of it. Now, I'm not sure I'm as hardcore as you are, you know what I'm saying? But I really do believe that our default is water on the fire. That's where we start. And you need something compelling to get you to change from that default, to call the audible. You need something compelling. I like how you said earlier, visible victims. That's an easy one. You know what I'm saying? And so from there, I'm willing to discuss and cuss and discuss and everything. And that's the beauty of the American Fire Service. And hopefully people can be decisive, because violent action taken as quickly as possible, man, is going to affect that emergency scenario.
Violence of action, for sure. That's a term from the Marine Corps. Violence of action. Fire superiority.
Love it.
And that stuck with me, and for sure, I like being proactive fires, and for sure, that's how we approach it. We're gonna punch it in the mouth unless something tells us otherwise, which is a visible victim.
Sure, if you could see your kids and yeah, absolutely, yeah, okay, we could go down that rabbit hole again, brother. Thank you so much for giving me your evening and making this an unbelievably great scrap. Thanks for putting up with my earlier technical issues. If someone wants to get a hold of you, how can they do so? Book a class, whatever.
Sure. I think Facebook's a really good channel. Instagram as well. Message me. I'm usually an open book. Made it a hard rule on Sundays, whether I'm at work or not. That's family time. My work family or my family here. So Sundays I'm not that great at getting back to people. But rest of the week it's game on.
Solid. Housekeeping. Here we go. Firehousevigilance.com. If you want to be a part of the Vigilantes, please go sign up as little as $5 a month, and you are a member. Amazing discussions, amazing guests. This month we are discussing a really good book. I'm biased, but it's the 9 L's of leadership that we're going to be discussing. So besides that, we do a forum every month, and that's this month. So go be a part. It's a blast. Go to firehousevigilance.com and pledge your support for the scrap. You get an invite to the Vigilantes. Speaking of the 9 L's, get yourself a copy. If you want it signed, get it from firehousevigilance.com. If you just want a copy, go to Amazon, and they'll get it to you faster than probably I can. But I am blown away by the reception of the book, man. I'm seriously humbled. Every time someone sends me a review or something, man, I thank you very, very much. If you want sticker packs, send me a picture of your review. I am not above bribing people to rate the podcast or the book. Send me addresses and I'll send you stickers. Final thing, if you know somebody that has a business or something that would love to advertise on the scrap, just like Next Rung, affordable standpipe, the affordable drill tower, key hose, or flame decon, man, reach out to me, because I love firefighter-owned businesses and spreading the word. It's an awesome way to reach firefighters. My brother, Manuel Barajas, Manny the Barbarian, thank you for sharing your evening with me.
Thanks for having me. You mind if I give a shout out?
Go.
Just want to give a shout out to my brother, another mother, Rob Garcia, who's been with me thick and thin, and he's had my back, and he says, till the wheels fall off. Rob, Noah Casillas, Josh Silva, Leo San Miguel, my officer, Lieutenant Walter. That support network for sure has been key for me doing what I'm doing. And I just want to tell them thank you, and thank you for having me.
Dude, solid, brother. Absolutely, man. Audience, thank you so much for tuning in week in and week out and asking killer questions, man. I really do appreciate it. I know Manny appreciates it. Thank you for tuning in live. I love you all. Remember, mutts, don't scrap. I hope the tone stays silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there.
Thanks for listening to the Weekly Scrap. Please subscribe and please share. We'll see you at the next episode.